Welcome to your in-depth weekly astrology overview and zodiac forecast for week commencing the 20th of January. We got some big things unfolding this week, not least the Sun's combination with Pluto, which is exact on Tuesday. But also, as we start this week, Venus is in a combination with the rather steadying energies of Saturn, which would suggest that there could be some rather serious conversations in terms of relationships, but also money. But the modern ruler of the sign of Aquarius is very dynamic this week and is firing up a whole set of potential outcomes. I'm going to share with you the event chart right at the start of the week, which provides always an important backdrop for the whole 7 days. Then, as influences unfold, I go through each of those, but then each of the 12 zodiac signs from Aries through to Pisces, and give you a flavour in terms of the ascendant, sun or moon. Thank you for joining me. I'm astrologer Patrick Arundell. If you have any thoughts, please feel welcome to share them. If you've yet to sub, please help the channel to thrive and do so, and also click or tap the bell notification symbol. If you'd like to chat with me direct and have a one-to-one, I am a consulting astrologer. Please see my testimonials below, and also where you can click to complete the booking form. If you'd like to take advantage of my personal horoscope reports, I've changed the package. You can now buy one and get one free. If you want the Draconic Natal, you can also order your 12-month tropical forecast or even your Draconic 12-month forecast. The choice is yours, but buy one, get one free. Please see the link below for more. So on the screen now, I'm sharing the event chart right at the start of the week. And as ever, we need to be mindful of the two luminaries. In the case of the Sun, just moved into the sign of Aquarius, the 11th zodiac sign. It's ruled by both Saturn and Uranus. But the sign of Aquarius is, of course, an air sign. So it's very much about communication. It's also about us collectively. It's our friendships, our groups, our associations. But it can also be about our higher purpose. And because the Sun links exactly to the planet of change, Pluto, on Tuesday, this can be a marker for us all about some part of our situation which is going through a major alteration. But also, as we start this week, the position of the moon forges a sparkling alliance with the part of fortune in Aquarius at 10 degrees 52, but also the planet of luck, Jupiter, at 11 degrees 40 in Gemini. Now, it's true that Jupiter is still in its retrograde, but it is going to come out of that on the 3rd of February. But that alliance with the moon, between the moon and Jupiter, and back to the part of fortune, suggests that if we can communicate this week, but also lean into the needs of others with the moon in the 7th house, diplomacy can take us far. Also, Saturn has been in a bruising right angle with Jupiter, which peaked on Christmas Eve. Now, because of Jupiter's retrograde, that is inverting. So they're no longer in touch within 3 degrees. So that's a really good piece of news. And if we have been feeling that something we had been excited about was being held back in some way, that's going to help to release the handbrake. It can't be argued, however, that we can see that Saturn and Venus are very close together at the start of the week. Saturn can be about constraint, but it is also about timing, and it can be about experience. So it's not all bad. Venus can be about money. It's not just about relationships. And in the sign of Pisces, she is flourishing in her exaltation. But I think that's saying to us, if we are thinking about finance, or we are thinking about a relationship, Saturn's asking us to think about it carefully. Unfortunately, if you are in a relationship which has really been bumping along the bottom, Venus being so close to Saturn could, particularly in the sign of Pisces, which is the final zodiac sign, could see a tie come to a close. But I also want to make you aware of the role of Mars. Mars was tussling with the Sun last week in quite a full-on way, but starts this week in a sparkling alliance still to Neptune and the North Node, but also to Uranus. And that really is the intriguing thing about this week, because the conjunction between the Sun and Pluto in Aquarius gives us an option. We can stick with what we know, because the sign of Aquarius has a duality. It is about an appreciation of tradition. A lot of Aquarius people, because it's a fixed sign, can be quite attached to their particular personal patterns. But the more progressive energy of Aquarius is Uranus. And that Uranus energy this week links in such a thrusting way to Mars. Mars links back initially to Neptune and also to the North Node. But as the week goes on, Venus is going to join in as well. And that creates the potential, as long as we've done our homework, to do something very enterprising, whether it is around our resources. It could be around something where we want to improve where we live, because having Mars, despite its retrograde in Cancer, Cancer is very motivated to improve, take physical action to improve our environment. But also, maybe there's an idea that's been washing around in the back of our minds, and Venus moving forwards and applying to Uranus, and Uranus's application to Mars, can see us trying to do something, but staying in touch with how we feel because of the water trine between Venus and Mars. So the two planets involved in the game of love are actually collaborating very well. But because Uranus is in the mix as well, I do think for some people, if things have run their course, the desire for some kind of freedom or escapism could be very strong. And essentially the sign of Aquarius is about friendship. And it doesn't mean just because some relationships have run their course that it has to be acrimonious. Sometimes that does seem to happen, but if you can, in some ways, keep the lines of communication open, that's a very good thing. But also, just to say that Mercury, the planet of communication, in the sign of Capricorn, can be very much about business. And that's forging a terrific link with the ruler of the sign of Capricorn, Saturn, but also Venus at the start of this week. So there could be some very important discussions around the business concept. But I think Uranus is saying we all must be open to fresh ways of approaching things. If we just try to stick with exactly what we know, it's not necessarily going to work. And the energy of the sign of Aquarius is very much about the need to collaborate and find ways in which we can be cooperative and supportive, even if we retain our personal agency and identity. Please stay with me as I go through each of the 12 zodiac signs, but remember, you can get your personal horoscope and get the second one free. Please see the link below for more. Aries, your week commencing the 20th of January forecast begins with the need perhaps to make sense of something that happened last week that was very powerful. It may have been at a personal level, it may have been some inner conflict that was going on, or some kind of unsureness about which way to go on a major strand. It may have been around your professional world. But with the Sun aligning to Pluto in your 11th house, thinking more about your long-term plan is definitely going to be part of the equation. But if there are certain parts of your situation that are coming to a close, whatever they may be, whether it's an interest, a hobby, a connection to someone, that could be flagged by Venus's conjunction to Saturn at the start of this week. Your ruler Mars does continue to invert. It's going to go all the way back to 17 degrees in Cancer. But actually this week forges an absolutely brilliant angle to Uranus in your sector of everyday money, but also Venus. Something from the past could come back to you. It could be hard work. It could be some kind of thoughtful gesture from someone you've helped in the past. It may even be some kind of savings plan which is going to mature, but something can happen this week which can be very good for your emotional world, whether it is practical or whether it is more in the spiritual dimension. But with all of that in mind, that connection right at the start of this week between the position of the path of fortune, Jupiter, the planet of luck, and the moon in your sector of relating is really very uplifting. And even if you did have to work through something that was quite intense last week, and even if there are some things that you do feel are coming to a natural conclusion, the potential to lean into and connect to the type of people you want to spend time with, that you find uplifting, that share your interests, hobbies or values, is very, very strong. Also, it has to be said, you could find yourself falling back or using some instinctive qualities that have come to the fore more with the North Node linking with Neptune, and continue to hold those. They can be very, very positive for you. So even if you're making some potentially long-term decisions in a practical sense, your instincts can still be very protective to you. Have a great week, Aries. And if you've yet to watch your year 2025 deep dive video, please see the link below for more. And if you've yet to watch your February 2025 deep dive video, please see the link below for more. So Taurus, the week begins with the Sun aligning with Pluto on Tuesday, but also with your ruler Venus aligning with the strict energies of Saturn. What the takeout from this is that I think you're going to be really purposeful this week in terms of punching through to go for what you truly need, whether it's around your future, whether it's around your work, your ambitions, self-employment, or even around your friendships. So what you say this week is going to be exactly what you mean. And that's going to help people to have a respect for you. And part of the reason that you're going to be in such a thrusting, upbeat mood is that Mars, which was in that tasty opposition with the Sun last week, which may have led to some kind of intense conversation or conflab, Mars actually this week is linking so productively to Uranus in your sign, but also as the week goes on to Venus too. So there could be some tensions at the start of this week, but it's all going to help you to clarify, or help to clarify to others, exactly where you stand and exactly where you want. Because over the last couple of years, there may have been a little bit of a slowing down. Things may not have gone at quite the pace you have wanted. There may have been some tangles or disappointments around your friendship sector, but now I think you're much more aware of what you won't accept. And whereas in the past you may have been waiting more for how people might respond to you, this is a week when you can really show people in a very dynamic way that you're on the front foot, that your ideas can be exciting, that you mean business and you want to get results. And being an earth sign, it's very important for you to feel that the results have some kind of tangible benefit. So I think that this is going to be a very, very exciting week, whether you're applying for jobs, going to presentations, doing interviews, driving forwards with new clients, if you've got your own business or you work for a successful company. On the whole, this is a week that's really set up brilliantly for you to be on the front foot in a very dynamic way indeed. Taurus, if you've yet to watch your February 2025 deep dive video, please see the link beneath this video to watch it now. So Gemini, your week commencing the 20th of January forecast starts in sparkling fashion with Jupiter in your sign, the planet of fortune, aligning with the moon in your sister air sign of Libra, and the part of fortune in Aquarius. This grand air trine really gives you a wonderful platform to articulate whatever you feel enthusiastic about. Also on Tuesday, the Sun's link to Pluto suggests some important conversations, perhaps around a contractual matter could be to the fore, but also your thinking can be going through some kind of transformation, particularly if you're wanting to shake things up, free yourself from any limiting thinking or attitudes, or just enjoy some spontaneity. But conversely, Uranus, the planet of restlessness, which has been quite the aggravant since March 2019, particularly in terms of your psychological situation, well, Uranus comes back to you this week in a really big way. So if you've been working on something behind the scenes that is a bit more novel, that is different and fresh, you can start to now gain a lot more traction with that idea. In fact, your ruler at the start of this week forges an awesome link to Venus and Saturn, but also then meets with Uranus on Thursday. So the conjunction between the Sun and Pluto could be about a deal, a contract. And certainly by the end of this week, as Venus moves forwards from the potentially serious conjunction with Saturn at the start of this week. So if you are in an employment situation which you don't feel is enriching, perhaps you're going to take that step and separate yourself from it. But there's going to be a sense of positivity, and later in the week you could find that another opportunity falls for you that really does fit the bill, and that's because Venus and Mars are going to be linking fabulously well towards the end of this week. But it could be your contacts or your relationships with influential people that can come back to you too. So as much as there could be a little bit of a tense moment on Monday with Venus and Saturn in a conjunction, there's still oodles of possibilities later this week for all your hard work, endeavour, but mostly enterprise and flexibility around different ideas to start to come up celestial trumps for you. Have a great week, Gemini. If you've yet to watch your February 2025 deep dive video, please see the link beneath this video. Cancer, your week commencing the 20th of January forecast certainly puts a lot of emphasis on Aquarius energy, and especially on Tuesday when the Sun meets the power broker of the zodiac, Pluto. That could be a time when you have a very deep realization. It may be that something does need to transform in your situation. And in some ways, letting go of what's comfortable and safe could feel a little bit daunting. But because of the combination of energy in the sign of Pisces, and particularly Saturn's conjunction to Venus on Monday, that's also going to see you think very carefully about whether your values are being met in any kind of association you've got, whether it is a personal, romantic or business situation. And also Mercury, the planet of communication in your 7th house, is helping you to hear how other people feel in a more detached way. But Mercury sparkles to both Saturn and Venus at the start of this week, and then forges an awesome angle to Uranus by Thursday. And Uranus is in that part of your chart that's very much to do with the long term, but also being open to new, fresh and novel ideas. But it's Mars in your sign which went through that rumbustious opposition to the Sun last week, which may have created some turbulence. That's linking to Uranus too this week in a very energized way, but also to the planet of love, Venus. And something later in this week, even if you're thinking at the start of the week, perhaps that your glass is half empty, by the end of the week you can see that whatever transformations are going on, whether it's around employment, friendships, interests, or even in the romantic sphere, a lot of excitement is starting to build up as the week goes on. But it does call upon you in some ways to separate yourself from a determination to stick with only what you know. So the less you can be attached and just flow and flex, the more that life will bring opportunities your way. It may not happen exactly this week, but you'll certainly be planting the seeds for some positivity that can soon follow. Have a great week, Cancer. If you've yet to watch your February deep dive monthly forecast, please see the link beneath this video. So Leo, your week commencing the 20th of January forecast suggests that the tension that came from last week's full moon, but also the opposition between the Sun in a very practical area, but Mars in a very psychological one, suggests that some issues may have come up that you weren't fully, at least before that point, aware of. But this week gives you an opportunity to talk things through. And as long as you're really committed to doing that and also attuning to the other person's viewpoint, you could reach a much better accord. In fact, for some Leos, the start of this week could be the beginning of a new relationship. A relationship that may not be romantic. It could be with a new bank. It could be with a new friend, a business alliance. In lots of different ways, if you're serious about discussing a commitment and it works on both sides, this can be a very productive week. But equally, if last week's energies did bring into the open some challenges and difficulties, it may be important to understand if one involvement has reached a key moment, because with Saturn's connection to Venus on Monday, you could feel a bit somber if you don't feel very heard, or the other person isn't really tuning into how you feel, or you feel they're very picky with Mercury in the 6th house, and that can leave you feeling unsure. But perhaps the biggest influence this week, to be honest, beyond the two conjunctions at the very start of this week, is Uranus. Uranus is a planet which can be disruptive, but it can also see things happen very quickly. It forges a terrific link this week to Venus, but also it's forging a great link to Mercury and also to Mars. Don't underestimate your links to your past. It could be someone you've worked with before or had some kind of connection to. Is going to come back into your situation very quickly, but this time you'll both be wiser for your more recent experiences and can actually understand where each is coming from in a much more effective way. But for relationships, particularly if it is in a romantic context, it's really a case of all in, or potentially if something has really run its full course, it may be time to bring it to a dignified close. To discover what February holds for you, Leo, in terms of your deep dive forecast, please see my link below for your video. So Virgo, your week commencing the 20th of January forecast sees that big connection between Venus and Saturn on Monday. If you're really serious about someone romantically, this can help you to understand and also respect each other's needs, but also the power of your connection. But equally, if things are not so good at the present time, perhaps this is going to make you much more aware of what you need to work on. With the Sun's connection to Pluto on Tuesday, there is a sense with your overall situation that some elements that have been pretty stable for some while may be up for review. Whether it's the job you do, the type of life routines you have, some of your personal interests, your approach to diet, exercise and fitness, but also Mercury, your ruler, actually forges a very enabling link at the start of this week to both Venus and Saturn, but also to Uranus, the planet of change, later in the week. So if you do find yourself feeling a bit stuck around a relationship or around your work, don't feel that you don't have any options, because Mars is in an incredibly dynamic link as this week goes on with both Uranus and Neptune. And there can be other connections that you can make, or perhaps decisions you make to break free of some limiting past situations, which can actually push you to alter your situation in a way which is really good for you. So if you are in a work-based tie, a friendship, or a romantic involvement that has got a little stale, it's definitely time to try to review things. If it's all the way to wanting to end it, don't feel that you don't have exciting new options coming your way, or if you just want a complete change of scene, by the very end of this week, if you get together with some lively friends and do something totally off the cuff and really spontaneous, it will be just the tonic you need. Have a great week, Virgo, and if you've yet to watch your in-depth February forecast, please see the link beneath this video. So Libra, your week commencing the 20th of January forecast begins with the moon in Libra, but forging an amazing alliance to Jupiter, the planet of growth, and they're both linking back brilliantly to the part of fortune, a wonderful grand air trine, and that can help you to come into this week in a very optimistic way. But if there have been a lot of heavy demands, expectations, routines to attend to, particularly over the last couple of years, that may have started to have quite the impact, particularly around a relationship where you feel you give more than you get back. And that doesn't have to be a romantic tie. It could be through your work, it could be at home in terms of the domestic load, because on Monday, Venus, your ruler, aligns with Saturn, which can be cold and limiting. And if you feel that you've gone over and above for long enough, the fact that the Sun combines with Pluto in your 5th house on Tuesday, and that air energy at the start of the week, is going to give you the determination to articulate what you need from the situation. And the moon in our own sign can help us to be much more single-minded. So you have an option at the start of this week. If there is something, for example, you've been working on that's very imaginative and you're a creative, the energy between Venus and Saturn can help you to structure it in a very lasting and meaningful way. But if you are feeling a little bit overwhelmed and other people have just been taking you for granted a bit too much, this is definitely a time when you can push back. And it could be in that home environment, because Mercury, the planet of communication, links with Saturn and Venus at the start of this week, helping you to find just the right words to express yourself. But Uranus, the planet of disruption, but also of surprises, actually is probably the most powerful influencer for the whole week. It's linking back very potently to Venus, which can give us a desire to liberate ourselves from something, but it also forges a fantastic link to Mars. Now, Mars last week went into that very potent opposition with the Sun, and that may have helped you to think carefully about your work-life balance. But also Mars continues through to the 18th of April to push you to raise your bar when it comes to what you will or won't accept, and have the confidence to assert what you need. So the link between Mars and Venus, but also both of them back to Uranus this week, suggests that whether it's to do with money, your work, a business idea, or a relationship, looking at things in a fresh way, but most of all asserting what you need, is the key to progress this week. But if you are someone who wants to break away from those chores and those obligations, that combination of the Sun and Pluto certainly encourages you to get in touch with the more playful, fun and social part of your situation. Have a great week, Libra. If you've yet to watch your February deep dive video forecast, please see the link beneath this video. So Scorpio, the big focus generally this week for you on your sign is going to be that the Sun meets your modern ruler Pluto exactly on Tuesday. And for sure, it could give you a lot of food for thought, because transformations around where you live, who you live with and how are going to be very much to the fore in your situation over the next few years. But also that transformation may be nothing to do with your immediate environment, even your relationships. It could be a transformation deep within you. Because this week there is actually a lot of very bright and vibrant energies going on that are much more outgoing. Not least that Mercury, the planet of communication, forges a terrific alliance with Venus at the start of this week, and also Saturn. And then by the middle of the week, there could be a sudden, quick move-in situation or conversation, which really is very exciting. Your traditional ruler, Mars, which is encouraging you to break free from anything which is no longer serving your greater good, also links back to Uranus, but also Venus. So there could be some really exciting news around your social, creative, or even romantic parts of your situation. But in order to steer it all in exactly the way you need, being very in touch with how you feel about things is the key. And sometimes that requires us to be a little bit more vulnerable, perhaps even aware of some of the benefits that we have in our life, even if a particular situation isn't quite as we want it. And that's where Pluto can be so complex, because sometimes we're pushed to let go of something which does have a role, but it's not quite the right role for us. And it doesn't necessarily seem a like-for-like swap. And that in itself can seem daunting. But if you are someone who wants to demonstrate your flair, go out and have some fun, but at the same time be in touch with how you really feel or what needs to change at the heart of your life, this is a week that's made for you. Have a great week, Scorpio. If you've yet to watch your deep dive for February, the monthly forecast, please see the link below for more. So Sagittarius, your week commencing the 20th of January forecast, definitely can see things speeding up in terms of your interaction with others. If you've got things or ideas that you want to share with people, your enthusiasm and passion for them is going to be manifestly obvious. But because on Monday Venus connects with Saturn, Saturn has been quite a tough influence the last couple of years in your home and emotional sector. And maybe if something isn't quite as you want in that area, there may be a really serious conversation that needs to be had. But I want you to know that as this week goes on, there's a lot of enterprising energy that starts to develop, particularly if you're needing to improve your financial situation, because of Uranus being quite the disruptor around routine since March 2019. If you do find yourself thinking or talking about what you might do to change your situation, you always need to be conscious of the emotional dimension. And yet Venus does break away from Saturn as the week goes on. So something that may seem a bit stuck on Monday can loosen up, and then Venus forges a glorious link to Mars, but also to Uranus later in the week. So whereas things have been a bit scattered, not very regular, it's been hard to get any rhythm going in recent times, and that has had an impact on your sense of tranquility and your inner peacefulness. Later this week, actually, you can turn some of those experiences to your advantage. And because of the very potent link between the Sun and Pluto, your passion for ideas, your passion for knowledge, but also sharing what you know with others is certainly going to be a big theme over the next month. But this week in particular does ask you just to sort out what it is at the root of your situation. It might be just a very positive tidy up. It may be some redecoration. It may be some home improvements in a more physical way. It may be a heart to heart with someone that you're close to. But once you've had that, you're going to feel a much greater sense of liberation as this week goes on. If you've yet to watch your February deep dive monthly forecast, please see the link beneath this one. So Capricorn, your week commencing the 20th of January forecast sees Venus, the planet of relating, but also of money, join up with Saturn, your ruler, in the part of your chart to do with everyday connections. Could be with neighbours, siblings, people you work with, maybe online. But Mercury in your sign is also linking to them. If you've got an idea and you want to express it, people are going to know that what you say is truly what you mean. So there's going to be an extra sense of clout with how you express yourself. But on Tuesday, the Sun does align with Pluto, which left your sign for good in our lifetimes on the 19th of November. And that is going to give you food for thought around everyday money, around your values, your self-worth, but also the foundations of your life. Maybe something is shifting, something you used to be attached to may hold much less value. Other things are becoming much more important to you. So the thinking that's going on in the sign of Pisces links back to your ability to initiate things, Mercury in your sign, but you're wanting to know what the outcome is from those conversations or those actions, and that's the combination of the Sun and also Pluto. But Uranus, the planet of surprises, has certainly been a provocative influence for us all since March 2019 in your sister Earth sign of Taurus. But Uranus this week is actually very good for you. If you recall last week, Mars in your sector of relating went into quite a feisty opposition with the Sun in your sign. There may have been some tensions, but you know, this week, because of Uranus linking brilliantly with Mars, but also back to Venus as the week goes on, actually there could be a connection or a conversation later this week which really lifts you. That conversation could happen just out of nowhere, perhaps around Thursday when Mercury also arcs to Uranus. It could be a conversation that is surprising in some ways. It could be around something that's different or novel. It may be you that decides to be a bit more enterprising in your approach. But by the end of the week, all that turbulence and tension of last week, and perhaps that coolness that may have existed with Saturn and Venus in a conjunction at the start of this week, and if you are finding someone that you experience daily a bit challenging, by the end of this week I feel that you're going to find lots of different ways to bring some light relief and texture to what may have felt a little bit tense. But remember, this is a week when, as long as you think it through first, what you say, people will really know that you mean business. Thanks for joining me, Capricorn. If you've yet to watch your deep dive for February 2025, please see the link beneath this video. So Aquarius, your week commencing the 20th of January forecast does see Aquarius season start to take shape in a powerful way from Tuesday, but it also sees on Monday a brilliant alliance between the part of fortune in your sign, Jupiter, the planet of opportunity, and the moon in your sister air sign of Libra. A conversation, therefore, right at the start of this week can give you a sense of uplift, because your traditional ruler Saturn may have been asking some quite stringent questions over the last couple of years. You may have had to work hard on your sense of self-worth. Maybe the foundations in your world have been changed or challenged in some way. Maybe income has also been a little harder to come by. Now, Venus, the planet of charm, relating but also of money, connects to Saturn right at the start of this week in an exact way. And that can be a sobering combination. But it just so happens that Mercury, the planet of commerce, in your 12th house, links to them really positively. Is it the case that an old idea that didn't quite gain traction could come back into play? I think it's possible. Also, if you're someone who has some kind of hobby or you're a home crafter, there is an opportunity to start taking that more seriously in terms of creating an extra income. But the link between the Sun and Pluto on Tuesday is certainly a very powerful one, and it's really asking you to take seriously what's different about you. We can get caught up in wanting to fit in, to conform, to seek approval in some way. That's asking you to get in touch with the most authentic part of your being. And also, it could be the beginning of a fresh start, or if there have been things you've been working on for some while that are different, they can pick up pace and impetus. But as the week goes on, it's actually going to be your modern ruler, which has been so disruptive around home, family and emotional issues over the last few years. Well, that forges a great link to Venus, but also to Mars. If you recall, Mars last week may have brought some kind of uncomfortable issue to the surface. There may have been some strains. It may have felt that trying to juggle all the different demands, whether it has been for rest, recuperation, and in some ways reflection with some of those everyday obligations, that may have been the thing that you needed to deal with. But by the end of this week, Mars is actually really going to help you, because although it is in retrograde, which can cause frustrations, it is in the part of your situation to do with stamina, and it's linked to Venus. For me, suggests that you can use your energy and your drive to start to improve your financial situation, but it may mean looking at something again or in a fresh light, or something that didn't quite work the first time round. Revisit it and see if you can adapt it in some kind of way, because Uranus may have been challenging around your emotional life, but it does ask you in some ways to demonstrate what makes you unique from the comfort of your home, or perhaps offer a service in your local community, or work closely with a family member on something that really is exciting and different. So by the end of this week, some of the tensions that came up last week with Mars's opposition to the Sun can make way for a much more productive period. And I think that ground air trine at the start of this week is a great starter point for you, because it's just going to help energy flow. But there may be that financial issue that does need to be revisited, but Venus can help you to get creative, but it also can help you to be very realistic. But then as the week goes on, if you just unlock your unique vision, that's going to help you to move forwards in a powerful way. If you've yet to watch your February deep dive forecast, Aquarius, please see the link beneath this video. So Pisces, week commencing the 20th of January begins with a very powerful conjunction between Venus and Saturn. Now Venus, since it moved into your sign, has probably given you the encouragement to have a think about your personal appearance. Perhaps you've made some changes, hit the January sales, got some new gear. But the connection with Saturn can ask some questions. If there has been an admirer coming your way recently, as Venus merges with Saturn but then advances away towards the end of this week and links up with Mars but also Uranus, something can speed up if you're on the same page. But if in an ongoing relationship something isn't quite working, the fact that the Sun aligns with Pluto on Tuesday may push you in some ways to confront the emotional or psychological implications of being with someone who's not very good for you. So if someone is inclined to be very critical, a bit harsh, cool, not very nurturing or encouraging, you may really feel that strongly on Monday. And yet Mercury, in your sector of friendship and longer term planning, is actually forging a great link with Saturn and Venus at the start of this week. And if you are a creative person, you'll be able to dig deep into your reserves with the help of the Sun-Pluto combination, and maybe something might need a little bit more time to really come to pass, perhaps another month. When the Sun moves into your sign, you can really start to engage with this. But later this week, there could be some very fast, playful and interactive connections, which actually really put in sharp contrast a disappointment that may play out at the start of this week if there is someone who's not as sincere, not as supportive, not as authentic as you really need. But if you're in a situation where you're free to make your own choices at the moment, there could be an acceleration around your social or romantic situation. But just make sure that you ask this fundamental question: does it feel right? Being a Pisces, sometimes you can give people the benefit of the doubt, but you need to be really sure that your senses are being listened to by you. Have a great week, Pisces, and if you've yet to watch your February monthly deep dive forecast, please see the link beneath this video.